Hey. So I'm really excited to be speaking to Teri Ijeoma, who to me is a master trader, a wizard in trading, and is the owner of the Trade and Travel course, helps people learn how to trade. So welcome, Teri, to the special pop-up training.
Thank you for having me, Jamila. I'm so glad to come on again.
Yes. So please tell for those who are, don't know much about you or learning how you went from, working in a 9 to 5 to being a multi million dollar business, running a multi-million dollar business.
Sure. So, my last job was as assistant principal of elementary school. And I say that I always was crying in the bathroom. Like, I just remember almost every single day, me and the other assistant principal taking turns crying in the bathroom. And so I needed an exit strategy. And I decided that I would start trading stocks to replace my income as an assistant principal. And somebody might say, well, how in the world did she decide to start trading stocks? And it's because I had learned about it in high school and then interned on Wall Street in college at MIT. So I had been trading as a side hustle and as a hobby for a long time, but I knew that if I could just replace my income with $300 a day, then I could quit and start traveling in the world. And fast forward, I did it. I practiced in the stock market. I started making $300 consistently, quit my job, and started traveling all over the world. Now people have asked me to teach them how to do it too. So that's what I do in trade and travel.
First of all, I love that about your story because I feel like there's so many people watching, listening who are in jobs that they're just, it's not the vibe, it's not what they're in love with. And they know that there's something else, but they feel stuck because of money, which is legit, right? We have bills to pay. So I love that you started small. It's not like you just went up and quit your job, right? Like you had to learn the basic foundations of investing first before you could make it into a business to teach others, right? So talk about that process. Was it it seems like you had the background already and the know-how. I mean, you went to MIT, like so you must be really smart. But like how was the first like learning stages for you in the process? Was it really hard or is it something you picked up naturally?
Sure. So I've been trading for 11 years. I actually started in 2010 after the housing market crashed. And I went out to look for investing properties like real estate, but my realtor was talking about all the money he was making in stocks. So the first 6 years, I would say, was really tough because I was trying to teach myself, come up with my own algorithms, watch CNBC and Jim Cramer, and try to figure it out. And I didn't know what I was doing. So I was just losing money. Then fast forward, I started taking classes. When I said, I'm going to take this serious, this is going to be my job, I started taking classes, practicing every day. And I will tell people, once you commit to, like, I'm going to use this to replace my salary, it takes about a year to become consistent. It only takes 8 weeks, like our trade and travel course is 8 weeks. It only takes about 8 weeks to learn, but then you got to practice. And that's where the consistency comes in. And this is not like now my students are making like $1,000 in a day, but it's an average. Sometimes you lose, sometimes you win, but it's all about just consistently following a plan. So that's what I had to learn how to do in the 11 years that I've been trading.
Yeah, and we will talk further on about like the specific trading and the different type of trading strategies and investing strategies because I do think that's important for people to understand. But going back to what you've been able to accomplish, so you were able to quit your job, travel the world, pre-pandemic, travel the world, and just talk a little bit about your personal journey, your personal finance journey, because I think that's inspiring for people to hear what you've been able to do.
Sure. So when I decided that I wanted to leave the school, first thing was, okay, let me take some classes so that I can really become better informed about stocks. So I took about 3 different classes. 2 were online, 1 was in person. I had a mentor who had been trading on like on Wall Street for 20, 30 years. And so he would look at my portfolio. So I just really went in depth. I actually paid like $30,000, if you could believe it, for some of the classes that I took. And I was just serious about it. So once I started practicing, what I would do is I still worked at the school. So I would make a meeting with myself at like 8 a.m. in the morning, and then I'd have a lunch meeting to check my stocks. And then during school pickup, right after that, I would check my stocks too, because that's when the market was closing. So, like, that's one myth as well, by the way. People think you got to trade all day. You don't. Like, I would just check my phone a couple times a day and like keep it moving. Um, Once I quit, though, the way that I afforded it was using my 401k. I had 401ks and 403bs from all my past jobs. So I moved that retirement money into a self-directed IRA and started trading that. So while I was in Thailand and Vietnam and all those places, I was trading that old retirement money to sustain my income. Trying to think what else.
Well, so I mean, it allowed you to quit your job, travel the world, um, and then I mean, so now you're running a business, helping other people learn how to do this. But you were on my podcast multiple times, and one of the things that you talked about was being able to buy your home in cash, and basically you're financially independent. Like you don't necessarily have to do this anymore, right?
Yes. Someone actually asked me about that. They were like, "Teri, how are you doing?" And it was one of those like moments where I had to like really be transparent. And I said, "You know what? I've learned that I actually don't have to work anymore. I have a piece about the fact that like my money actually makes enough for me not to have to do anything. Like I don't have to teach, I don't have to trade, I don't have to do anything. It can do it all by itself." So now I'm at a place where I'm deciding, I'm choosing to do the things that I do because it brings me joy or it's helping other people. And that has been just a huge shift. Like that is such a freedom that I want other people to experience.
Yeah, I love that. I love that for you. I love that for the potential for us. I mean, that's what Journeys Launch is all about, like helping people get to the place financially to reach their goals. And what I love about you too is like it's also from a place, a spiritual place. I know that for you, like it's not just about the money, it's about giving back. It's about like the wholeness, the wellness journey of this too, because it's not just about the money.
It really is. For me, I feel called to do this. Like all the people that I'm serving, I actually went to seminary for my master's. I thought I'd be like a young adult pastor, and I still feel like that's my role in running trade and travel. Like I am giving this financial gift so that people can improve their lives. Like this is my way of serving like people and improving their lives. So
Love that. Okay. So we are going to move on now to talking about trading. I want to get into specifics about the kind of trading you do, and to break down just any misconceptions. So there's that long-term investing, which I'm a big fan of. Obviously, most people, everyone should have a long-term investing strategy, meaning you set money aside and you forget it. Like you're not touching that money anytime soon. But that's not what you do in terms of or teach in trade and travel. So can you talk about what kind of trading you teach and why it's beneficial?
sure. I am an active investor, and the difference between active investing versus long term investing is active investing, we are trading in and out of a stock for income. We want to use it so we can pay our bills, pay off debt, like just have a side hustle. We're actively trading for money right now. A long term investor is holding on to a stock for more than a year, and they're usually thinking about more so retirement. So the initial difference is the goal. Do you need the money right now, or do you need it for the long term to live a good life in the 50s and 60s? Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
And for me, like, remember my story of I was an assistant principal and I wanted to leave. So I needed money right now that could replace my income. So that's why I'm an active investor. And then the asset class. I chose stocks and options. And there's four different asset classes. You could do futures, which is like commodities. You could do Forex, which is currency. I like stocks and options because I like companies. To me, looking at what the companies are doing and the new products they're coming out with and what the CEO says, to me, that's like watching flag football or fantasy football. Like I'm all in it. So if you like companies, then I think stocks is a good place to start. And it's nice because you can usually understand it because you've dealt with the company. You have an Apple phone or an iPhone for Apple. You have, a Google search for Google. So it's easy to understand. Now, to your question of like how it works. So here's the difference. I have some long-term Apple positions, and let's just say this is 2021. During most of this year, Apple's kind of been going down. Like it was at $135 and it came down to 121. So if you're in a long-term position, your account is just looking red and negative. And the good thing is you got time.
Right.
So you don't have to worry about it. You can kind of let that run and it doesn't matter. However, an active investor, what we would do is instead of just looking at that red in our account, we would have sold when it was a little higher around 135. And then as it came down, we could actually make money on the way down. So there's something called shorting. We can make money on that. And then also it hasn't gone down in a straight line. It's kind of stopped, came back up, stopped, came back up. So we would make money on each of those little we call in the chart, we call them formations, but we'd make money on each of those too. So that's the difference, being able to kind of make some money while the market is doing what it's doing versus just having to wait.
And I love that you are differentiating that, right? And in terms of, so what you call, what you do is called day trading.
It's day and swing trading. It's just
Okay.
active investing.
Anything active investments. Okay. And also too, right? So this is something where you are actively, needing to do this. And it's also not, what I love about what you talk about the program is like, this is not a get rich quick kind of thing. You have to put in the time. First of all, you put up the, investment to take the course, but you also have to put the time in to learn. It's not, and I would never want anyone to hear you and all the amazing things you've been able to accomplish in some of your students and think, oh, this is easy. I'm just going to do this and I'm going to make all the money in the world. That's not what we're advocating for or what we want. We want you to make money, but just know that you have to put the work in. So I want you to talk about that part of it with trading, because it's not just, oh, all days are great days and you're making money, all the time. There is a potential for loss here.
Yes, there is. So I think a lot of times people hear me talk about $1,000 in a day, and they think that you're going to make $1,000 every day. And the truth is, you're actually going to probably make $3,000 one day, lose 1,000 another day, make make 100 another day, not even close to 1,000, just 100. But you're going to average over time a certain amount, and you have to be ready for those swings. What I think is most important, though, is being able to take good trades at the right time. So that might mean that you're actually trading once or twice a week to wait for that really good setup in a stock versus trying to just make something happen every day. And that does take practice, that does take discipline. Trading is mostly an emotional thing. Like being able to have patience for the stock to come to the price you want it to come to, having discipline to get out of a trade, and that we have a whole risk management plan. But how do you make sure that you're putting in your stop losses to protect yourself? But it's more about, like you said, putting in the work to make sure that you're actually following a trading plan.
Right. And not getting caught up in the emotions of it, because it's highly emotional, right? I can imagine when you see maybe a stock going down, you want to sell, but that's not like what maybe you thought to do in the beginning. You have to stick to the plan that you came up with before everything starts, right?
Yeah. The first thing before you even start trading is to get a trading plan. And for me, that's like 7 steps I take every single time I take a trade. And that's important. Like when you have a plan, then you can stick to it.
Awesome. All right. So let's now talk about trading to reach your goals, because this is something that I know a lot of people listening and watching, like that's what they want to do. They're in a position right now where they're maybe stuck somewhere they don't like working or have debt, just need extra income, and they need something to bridge that gap for them and then potentially do what you do, like do it full time. So let's talk a little bit about like how someone can use the money from what they're doing trading, like on an ongoing basis to help them further their goals.
So let's take a real life example. I use trading to pay off my student loans. And what I did is I first broke it down into smaller pieces. I had $17,000 worth of student loans that I wanted to pay off. And so I broke it down, and it ended up being like I wanted to make $300 a day, back to my older goals. But I just needed to make that amount, and that would pay off the student loan. So first, break it down. Then what I would do is I decided, okay, if I invest in these stocks and I have, let's just say you have 100 shares of a stock that moves $1 a day. Well, that actually now means that you can make $100 a day. So I used my trading plan, invested in those stocks, and I actually started making the $300 of realized gain in my stock account. And what I would do is take that money and then move it over into my bank account. So that's the next step. Once you make the money with stocks, you realize the gain, which means you have to sell the stocks, and then you can move it into your bank account. And it's a regular like balance transfer. It takes about 3 days to get to your real account. And then you can use that money to pay for your debt. And so that's what I did. traded stocks, use that money, put it over into my bank account. So
Right.
that's what other people would do.
And just like next level, when you get to it though, you should be accounting for taxes for all that too. But I think it's just, I actually like that you just said, like, just really basic. Once you get the gain, you transfer it to your bank account. Because a lot of people hear it like, oh, you're getting this money, but then what? It's like, no, you actually transfer it to your account. You put away some for taxes. So if you did get 300, it's not that you put in that 300, to whatever goal. You do have to, save some off so Uncle Sam doesn't come for you. But it's important to note. And I know you, again, personally been able to do this, and your students have. So can you talk about a little bit, some of your students have been able to do some amazing things with this program?
Yeah, like one that I really love is there's a student who wanted to renovate her kitchen. And so she was using stocks to renovate her kitchen, and it looks beautiful. She showed us before and after pictures, and they're so cute. And she did that way faster than she thought, because she thought, like, I'm going to learn how to trade, and then it'll take me, another year, and then I'll be able to work on the kitchen. But I think she did it in like 4 months. So that was huge. I have another student who wanted to buy a car. And so she was trading stocks to pay for her car, did it, showed us a picture of the car, and like, so amazing. So it's those small goals. How do you use stocks to actually pay for the things that are important to you?
Right. And again, balancing this on the path to financial independence, so you choose what that is. That it's not wrong in any like way, right? So if you choose to buy a car, use it to do vacations, or start that another side hustle, like, it's your life. You can literally like choose what you want to do. And also what I love about this is how it stretches you, like, to learn this information. So yes, the payoff is you potentially are bringing in more money. That's the goal. But also, like, I can imagine some of your students come in not knowing that they could do this, or feeling like this is so out of their league. And when they learn it, how great that feels, that you can do this too.
Yes, I have so many students that come in so nervous. Oh my gosh, they're like, you know what, Terry, I signed up, but I'm really scared. And then they start learning the information and they realize how simple it is. They're like, oh man, well, and plus I taught, or I was in elementary school. So they're like, you make this really simple. But then they start learning it, and then they show their first win. Like, our first homework assignment is to do 5 trades. So they usually do the 5 trades and they're like, oh my God, Terry, I made $3. I cannot believe it. Then they start growing and growing, and then they hit the $1,000 in a day club. And it's this thing of like, I just learned this new skill that I thought I couldn't do. And that improves your confidence. That improves how you show up in the world. So it's really, really cool to see them transform.
And again, it's not, yes, it's directly because of the trading, but that, I'm sure that seeps into other areas of their life, because they're just like, okay, what else can I do that I thought I couldn't do? Right.
Yes. And then the emotional part. Like, one of my students said the patience that he learned from trading has gone into every other part of his life. He's more patient with his kids, he's more patient with his family, because he had to learn that patience and discipline in trading. So all those skill sets, those emotions also transfer.
I love that. I love that. Okay, so now I want to talk a bit about the actual course itself, because I always get questions about it. It was like one of the first things, and I'll link your original episode. So Teri has been on the podcast 2 times now. The original episode talked more about your journey to reaching this place where you could travel the world and quitting your job. At more details that. And then the second episode you came back on, you talked about like reaching financial independence, buying your home in cash. And then I had also your students, because I wanted real testimonials from people who are just beginning, right? So Teri's the expert. She's the MIT grad. Okay, what if she's a unicorn and not everyone can do this? Even though you have receipts on receipts from other students, I was like, okay, what about people who I know? So I had my sister on as one of the case studies, and other people who are just starting. What is it like for them? And so I will link all those episodes, because you may want to hear those in more detail. But I want to talk more about the course itself and how you structure it, and why, if someone is interested in trading in this way, they should go with you.
Sure. I made the course everything I wish I had known before I got started. Like, literally, when I was thinking through, like, okay, I got to teach my friend, because a couple of my friends were the first people that bought the course from me. So I said, okay, I got to teach them everything I know. And it was, what do I wish I had known when I started? First thing was how to pick the right companies, because that's where a lot of people fail. They get into these penny stocks and these SPAC and like those are like skeptical, you never know kind of companies, and those are the wrong place to go. You really want the healthy companies. So I did a whole section on how do you pick the right companies. Then the next thing is, how do you protect yourself from losing? I lost so much money in those first 6 years of trying to figure it out on my own. But then I learned that there was ways to protect myself. I didn't have to lose like that. So the next part is all about risk management. Then we go into technical analysis, and that's about how do I know the right time to get into a stock? And that's again something I wish I had known ahead of time because I got in the wrong time. So many, so many trades. I got in at just the wrong time. I get in and then it turns red. So the next part is how do you read charts to get in at the right time? And then we go into the trading plan that we've been discussing. Like, how do you have a detailed step-by-step checklist so that the emotions are not in there and you're making sure to do all the things. So that's all, that's the first 4 classes. But then we go into, all right, now that you got down the basics, let's kick it up a notch. How do you make money when the market is going down? How do you take advantage of gaps in the charts? That's like news and overnight action. And then how do you do options trading? Because that's like 100 shares at a time. You can actually really increase your gains. So that's what we cover in the whole course. And it's really everything I wish I knew before I got started, and then everything I currently do to consistently make gains.
Right. So the first part, it's like you have the trade and travel, and then you have the VIP, which teaches the more advanced options.
Yep. And now I just say it's really one course. It's the VIP trade and travel program. But if you want to start with the first half, then you can.
Right.
Hmm.
So how much time does it take to go through the course if one is doing it correctly? I guess everyone had like learns at a different pace, but how do you structure it so that someone can go through it? How long does it take?
Being that I'm coming from education, I approach it as if you were taking like a continuing education course at a college. If you can dedicate an hour a day, you're like right on point. If you have to squeeze it in like 3 hours on the weekend, or I have some students that like binge watch it like Netflix, whatever it takes, it's self-paced and you can do it on your own schedule. But I will say if you can give about 4 to 6 hours per class, then you can get the information. It's video, so that's good. You're not reading a lot of pamphlets. It's actually videos that you're going to go through, and then you practice. That's where a lot of the work comes in. Watch the course and then practice. Watch the course, then practice.
Right. And you do have a community, right? So you're not just on your own once you take the course. So it's designed that you are coming to the community to then ask questions and to get deeper training. So talk a little bit about that.
That's right. We now have over 6,000 students in our Facebook community that have taken the class. And like the coolest thing is when you have that many people who know how to trade the same way, then like there are so many ideas, like trading ideas that come out of that. Hey, did you see Netflix is in a buyer's level? Oh, did you see that Apple is about to do this? Oh, did you see? It is the coolest thing. Like you honestly get your money back just by being in that community group. Like it's so cool.
Yeah, yeah. And what about too? So okay, so you said maybe a couple hours a day or 1 hour a day at minimum if you have the time, but then you can also binge it. But average from the feedback from your students when they a majority of them go through it, is it like okay, it took me 2 months to learn the content and then it took me a month to trade in a simulation? Because I know part of it too is like you don't jump right into trading, like you have them also practice. So from
Right.
start, like if someone's listening to this and like, oh, I'm signing up today, what's the average that then they could expect to be in the market trading with their real money?
You know what? It's different for every student. So I don't want to like give a blanket statement, but I will say after the first class, your homework assignment is to take 5 trades. So you're going to be trading pretty soon into the course, but we do have you trade in a simulator until you feel comfortable. Some students within 3 weeks they're trading already made their money back for the course. Other students, they trade in the simulator for a year before they actually take their first trade. So I will say it takes 2 months to learn the curriculum. I want you after that to have at least 10 successful trades in the sim account. Like see if you can do 10 in a row of successful and then go into your real account. That's a good gauge, but everyone's going to be a little different.
Right. And for those people who are saying, well, I don't know if I can do this, like I wasn't good at math, or this just seems really complicated, what would you say to them?
One of my students, Gretchen, she said, Terry, anybody can do this. It's just looking at a chart and learning how to see what's happening in the chart. She's like, if anyone can look at a picture and then know what to do, they can do this. So it's not so much about math. It's about learning how to look at a picture. And then it's also business savvy, buyers and sellers. That's all the stock market is.
Yeah, I love that. And I mean, it's just, I wanted to break down that misconception for people who think like, wait, like, I don't know that I could do this. Cause you do have a vast majority of people who are coming at this from different levels. And the other thing I noticed is that I would have people who say they've taken other trading courses, and then it's different when they took yours. So I do think the way you teach, because you have that background in teaching, is super helpful for how you deliver the content.
I've heard that too. And what's crazy is like I put a stop to anyone saying anything negative about other courses because I just
Yeah.
think that we should all support each other.
Yeah.
But I've heard that my course is a really great foundation before you go anywhere else. Because once you really know the invest with Terry strategy, you can go into different asset classes. Like you can go into futures or forex and still use what I've taught in my course with charting and risk management. Or you could even go into longer term investing, but it'll help you become a better longer term investor. So it just seems like my course is a really good foundation from what all the students say.
Yeah. And so for anyone who is considering this, who's maybe on the kind of the edge or, almost about to do it, but still has some reservations, what would you say to them in terms of why, if this is on their heart that, or they've been thinking about for a little bit, that they should potentially really actually do?
I think right now, especially where we are in the economy and the stock market, it really pays to have some extra knowledge and not try to do this on your own. I think there's an opportunity cost to trying to invest without having education. Even personally for me, I lost thousands of dollars trying to figure it out on my own that I could have just used to pay to get educated, to pay for a mentor that's already been successful, to pay for, someone else making the mistakes instead of me. And that's with any kind of investment. When you invest in yourself, then it takes away a lot of the extra time and guesswork. So that's what I would say here too.
Love it. Okay, Terry, thank you so much for joining us in this special training series. And I can't wait to hear feedback from people who have watched this and then went and, took the jump, the leap, the investment, and hear all what they've been through and what they've been able to accomplish. So thanks for sharing your story and testimony again.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.